Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're catching us from. Welcome to the Linda Banks Show, a very informal program, actually, as we deliberate on what has been happening in our beloved country. If you couldn't hear me, kindly let me know in the comment section below. Let me know where you're watching us from, who has joined us. I know it's about 21 hours Central African time, and it's exactly 20:04 in the United Kingdom, and it's morning in Australia, and it's afternoon or mid-morning actually in America. Some parts, some states in America, like Texas, Louisiana, and various other places, because we are very aware that it's mainly diaspora kind of dominated, but quite a lot of Zambians do watch this, which is fantastic. Now, we have had some interesting news coming from the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Apparently, the ECZ did not breach the constitution by not calling for fresh nominations for the Kabushi and Kwacha seats. It's amazing. Zambia has got so many constituencies, but these two constituencies, they literally have set the entire country ablaze. Everyone is talking about it. Now, I have been joined by a few friends, some old and some new. We have got a brand new guest today. Could you introduce yourself, please? Welcome to the program, by the way.
Thank you so much. This is Mishek Kakwande, one of the former presidents for the National Students' Union, the umbrella mother body for all students' unions in Zambia.
Fantastic. Now, just tell us a little bit about yourself, Mishek, and your political affiliation. This is a very safe place. This is for all Zambians. You're allowed to speak your mind, and I'm going to remind everybody else, as long as everyone is polite and able to allow people's views to be aired, that's absolutely fine.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm a former student or alumni of the University of Zambia. That is, where I studied history and also cultural studies. And I'm also a master's holder from the University of Southern Denmark. I specialize in comparative politics. so economics, history, and the like of the Middle East. Yeah, and in terms of political affiliation, I first affiliate as a Zambian, you know,
More
and
importantly, yes.
that's the most important one.
Absolutely.
And of course, I do agree with most of the things that the UPND does. Yeah, but I'm one person who's very sober when it comes to debates. So I look forward to this debate that we have today. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I have also been joined by Womukelevai. Welcome to the program. You are muted. I think Wom
Hi,
looks,
good evening. Sorry.
and there he is. You have been you are a seasoned journalist. You should know where to press. Welcome to the program. And put your goggles on, for goodness sake. I couldn't recognize you there.
Yeah, that's me now. I'm back. It's good to see you, Bolinda, and welcome, woman. I forgot your name again, my brother.
Mishek.
Mishek.
Misheki, good to see you, and welcome. We need more people.
We definitely, we're not short of Zambians, actually.
Yes,
Mishek, could you
you are
just
based. You are based in Denmark.
Yes, exactly.
Ah, should we speak?
You want to speak Danish?
later?
I think it's better we speak, the Western language from Western, Manduna,
But
so that
it is
people are able to
Western.
understand us.
It's from the Nordic part, so we can also include it in our.
I like that indeed. Languages are always dynamic and they evolve. So you're right.
Yes.
There's always that.
No, it's good to see you. And Bolinda, it's good to see you.
Thank you so much.
I'm just waiting to see the guest of honor.
You are the guest of honor. You are Zambian, so every Zambian is a guest of honor. Now, we are going to get started, but we're going to be joined by a lot of other people, and as well as Boma. We're hoping Boma will be in the house very soon. I literally sent off an SOS a few minutes ago, and it was a yes. So they're probably just getting prepared. Now, before other people come in, let's just have a quick look and see who is around in the chat before we get started. Watching from Eastern Province, Chipata. Good evening, Madam Linda. But who's that? Jackson Mumba. Nice to see you. This is a very informal program, not our usual, very kind of formal. So please feel free to speak your language. I just love that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will you understand my language? I'm Ila.
What? Ila, perfect. I mean, just dive in. It will be my responsibility
That one
Patrick.
But I understand Lozi because yes, so whatever you were saying, I understand.
Oh, good. Lozi is the language that literally has given me the heebie-jeebies, and Walmux is trying his. Yeah, I'm very tricky. I think someone told me this. I think it was President Hamdudu who told me that Lozi is for intellectuals. Linda, that's why you don't understand it and you can't
Imagine Muchilozi Tulanda ati wena can't king how such.
What does that mean?
Wena means you, right?
Wena means you, but in English, when are you going to?
That's a very good connection. Yeah.
King. Why? But in English, king it's the king.
Exactly.
How such? And in English, we have how such. We have those words.
Interesting.
So, Lozi, it's almost close to English.
So, but then
that's why our Litunga wears that Scottish, that.
The Scottish skirts. We won't
That's
get
the
into
Guardian.
that. The Rigaria. We
Indeed.
won't get into that. It's very controversial conversation.
Oh, Madam Linda,
Let's
I
see.
forgot also to add, anyway, I'm also a perspective, legal lawyer in coming. Not yet. I'm still a student. Yeah,
Okay.
so hope one day that I'll be.
Fantastic. So then you will be able to guide this conversation.
So we
And
have the legal mind here.
Trust me, issues to do with law.
Mhm.
It's not just lawyers to guide. Even civil societies, even just
Absolutely. You're right.
normal Zambians can also guide, because the constitution of Zambia is a public document. So we can't say only lawyers are the ones, or the prospective lawyers are the ones that know the law. No. Yeah. So
Okay.
even you can guide, Yes.
We will do our best. Let's see. So we have got Chipata in the house. We've got Lusaka in the house. We've got Copperbelt. Oh my gosh, we've got Lufwanyama. Goodness, so many people. Texas, Brighton, down the road from my house. Fantastic. Now, before we dive into the conversation for today, seeing as it's a very informal conversation, and as we wait for our friends to join us, there has been so many things that have been happening in our beautiful country. Talking of someone who's from Brighton just reminded me of what has been happening with Mwepo, who would like to dive in and just share their sentiments about this young man's footballing career coming to a very rude, abrupt end. Tomisha, do you want to go first?
Oh, I wish to, send my, like I would say my remorse to, to the player, understanding the fact that he's been, putting the Zambian name, at the international level, and this person has not just played in the, like let's say in England. Before that, they were playing together with a good friend of his, Patson Daka, that should be, if I'm not mistaken, in Australia. Yeah, so
It's here as well, Patson Daka. Is he not? Is he not in Leicester? I think he's in Leicester.
before they came to Leicester, Patson came to Leicester, then the friend went to Albion. Is it?
Yes,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
the one.
Brighton, down the
Yeah.
road from
So
where I
they
am.
must have been in Shelseburg, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's where they used to play. So they've given the Zambian fans very good let's say history, realizing that he was also voted as best player in terms of goal. That was 3-4 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. So I think Mwepo has been doing fine, and importantly, he's been putting the armband, the captain. So that's how important he is to the Zambia national team, and I hope that like the way the guidance that Her Excellence, the Vice President, to say maybe they can look at the fact that they analyze more the heart condition that he has. But also importantly, it's important that the doctors were able to find out that he has a problem, because you find that most of the situations, someone is playing football maybe in Zambia, but the fact that they've not even known to say they are sick or what becomes a problem, because you might continue playing, then maybe it turns into a situation like one of the players here in Denmark. I'm sure you watched the scenario, Ericsson, where he fainted
He fainted on the pitch. Yes, really, really sad. Absolutely. Now,
at least, no, go ahead.
I was just going to say that Boma is in the house. We will to borrow one honorable gentleman's word. Like a few things that are happening in the country. Whilst Boma, we can't keep Boma waiting in the background for too long. We'll get in trouble. Bom Kelebai, what has pricked your attention back home, apart from the Concord one, which we're going to discuss as a program?
No, it's the thing that I was a little bit disappointed with back home was the political violence that we saw taking place in what's the name of that area? Lusamf, I don't know what's in the name again. It's gone. I didn't like what I saw, and it was just like uh, a deja vu. It's like somebody was taking us back to the thing that we said no to,
Yeah.
and the unfortunate part was not getting statements from the big people, the owners of the party, to come forward and condemn the activities that took place, and also the lack of the failure of police apprehending the suspects, those that we saw live on TV, where they were trying to injure other party cadres. That, to me, that was really it was like we were having a second trauma, second what you call it, secondary trauma, and I didn't like it, and it stinks to high heaven, and we should never go back to that kind of activities again. And those chaps need to be apprehended and be brought to book. Otherwise, UPND should actually stand firm and say no. Those chaps they were doing that on their own, not representing the party, even though they claim they were UPND cadres. To me, that was so terrible. They should never do such a thing. Oh, my apologies. Yes.
Yeah, you can mute your chats. Looks like you're a very popular man. Yeah, Bamishek, you were nodding your head. Did you want to add to that?
I do agree with what leadership Mkelewai has just said. Political violence is a cancer to a state. You know, there's no reason why fellow Zambians are campaigning, then you start stoning them or throwing stones or insults. I believe in politics of ideas, and I think that is what even the UPND, has been advocating for. Politics of ideas. I like the preamble that my brother has given. The fact that we are coming from a brutal regime shouldn't justify the fact that you should also be so brutal, or just even, have some similarities, because the politics that we were used to is that of, journalists being beaten in studios, or just insults being showered on them. Or you'd find that mothers on the market being, pangered. You remember, I think, the issue near Woodlands, where the UPND lady, a certain madam, was selling videos, and someone just comes and cuts her in the head. That's not the politics that we should even aspire to go back to. We should aspire for politics based on ideas. If someone has got no ideas and they want to bring insults in parliament, I was looking at a clip in parliament where someone is insulting the fellow member of parliament, saying, "Ngakumenye, ngakumenye, weimbwa." What kind of behavior is that? Especially, there's nothing that is honorable about that, because that's a new clip. I think I was looking at it this afternoon, and the other member of parliament says, Madam Speaker, can you please give a serious ruling before I jump over the other person? And I think that shouldn't be the way parliament should be. Parliament should be based on ideas. If someone has failed to deliver or give ideas to parliament, and it's better you just man up and run a press briefing to say, I have failed. Maybe the second person can take over, than insults and the like, because that's not the politics we need. Yeah. And I know, you can see that the trajectory now, it's moving from, bit by bit. It doesn't take so fast. It will take some time. Where cadres are failing to control the markets, it will take some time, because people have been used to making fast money. In fact, money that someone has not even worked for. They want it, to grab from people in the buses and like. but it's bit by bit. A mouse journey, always starts with one step. So bit by bit, I think we'll be there. But cleaning and also change of mindset has to continue.
Yeah. And just to add to that, perhaps the people who are in charge of making sure that things run smoothly, perhaps take a draconian route. But when they do, the honorable members of parliament complain that they're being victimized. So something drastic definitely has to happen. Well, let's welcome Boma in the house. Uteko, welcome.
Thank you very much, Linda. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for the rapid gunpoint invitation.
I know. I always tend to do this. We all have kind of like occupations, jobs, different kind of jurisdictions working in the day. And when news happens, you have to literally be ready to dive on. Mom Keleva, Eva, Mishek, and Boma in the house. Thank you so much for obliging and indulging us. Now, there's something that quite amused me, and I'm going to read it. It says, "Help. The Constitutional Court is giving me a migraine, absolutely confusing my lay brain." Didn't it rule that nullification of a parliamentary seat does not equal to disqualification? Today, we are told ECZ is not wrong after all in refusing to open or reopen nominations. So, what is what constitutionally? Now, this person's position has always been that it would be immoral and against the spirit of the Constitution to have Honorable Bowman Lusambo, whose seat was nullified for violence and corruption, get a chance to return to Parliament in this term. It just makes no sense. So the person goes on to say, the Concord, however, seems to see things differently. Today's ruling sounds like it's changed its mind. Anyway, again, can we be armed, or are we drunk with this constitution? I hope that this time we will approach the exercise with soberness and the shared good heart. We have seen that writing constitutions for the interests of ruling parties and presidents can do. Tabokawana, what is your view in regards to that? By the way, this is Laura Meaty, the amazing one. She always has a funny way, a very humorous way of putting things across, but putting her thoughts across. What is your view in regards to Laura's thoughts?
Well, I think that when we are aggrieved, we go to court. And one thing that I've noticed as Zambians that we don't seem to be doing is that every time we take a question to the Concord, we have riders. So we have our own interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
So that
Mr. Kwana, your line is very bad, I'm afraid. I don't know if we're gonna have to do what we did with Honorable Hamdudu last time, if you log out and then come back in. For some bizarre reason, today your line is pretty bad. Viewers, if you can hear us, please let us know. Perhaps it's just from my end. Bamishek and Bom, can you hear Mr. Kawana?
Let me do that.
Yes,
no, actually,
I think
we
I
can
am
hear
able
that he's cutting.
Yeah.
The internet is quite bad.
Okay, if you can log.
We need his voice clearly so that people don't misunderstand him, because Zambians, we are good at drawing the lines.
Let me try and do it on the phone.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much. Bamishek, do you want to chime in? So that was Laura's view. Do you think there's some sort of craziness going on in regards to our law? And you are a student of law. So perhaps set us a scene as to what is happening, what the implications are. give us a bit of a background for people who are just joining us. People like Jennifer, Daniel from Kitwe has just joined, and he wants to find out what has happened. Give us a bit of a background.
Well, basically, the issue here is about two issues. In fact, I would put it that way. Why? It's because President Sinkamba, that is the Green Party president, and also Isaac Mwanza. It should be Isaac Mwanza, if I'm not mistaken. Brought or went before the Concord for interpretation of issues to do with the 90 days elections, and also the issue that has to that is the issue of nominations, because there were some people that withdrew from the race. So basically, there are two issues that the Concord was faced with, and I must mention to this honorable house, I would say, or even to the public, to say the Concord has just answered one issue, and that issue is that of the period as to when the elections can be held, and they've guided to say ECZ is in order, to go on with the elections as long as the elections are held before the 2nd of November. So that is the guidance that they've given, and they've excused themselves in the second or the latter that I mentioned. That is the reason that they've given is that the other issue is before the High Court. So now that that in itself is a big issue, because what if the High Court says, in 2 days or 3 days, or let's say before the 21st of 23rd of October, they give a ruling to say go ahead and the like. So that is the scenario we are in. So basically, the Concord had two issues, and they've given guidance that ECZ was in order. Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you think that is setting a bad?
Just for the public to understand. I've tried to be as clear as possible, and not to use any law jargon for people to understand what is happening.
Indeed. And do you think it's setting a bad precedence going forward?
Well, in terms of bad precedence, I do not maybe agree with that, because the Concord was faced with two issues, like I said, and they've guided on the first issue. So now the High Court would be able, I don't know when the High Court will be able to give its guidance. And they can maybe even give tomorrow, you never know. And, the elections, like, they excuse themselves on the issue of nomination. And the challenge that is there is, it's because there are a lot of lacunas, or let me say, for the public to understand me as much as possible, I will not even use the word lacuna. There are a lot of, issues that need to be, hiccups in our constitution. Because to be honest, if you look at Articles 52, 70, and 100 that talk about elections, some of the things are not even clear, because they've not even guided on issues to do with, let's say, people that just wake up today and maybe they are given some money. I'm now attaching a bit of technicalities and political issues that happen behind closed doors.
Yeah,
if someone is called and given money, tomorrow you have to resign. The constitution has not guided. Someone can just resign, and maybe they take tea in the morning and so I'm now submitting the application again to stand. So we really need, I've always advocated cleaning up our, the most important document in our land, the Constitution, the fundamental document of the country, really needs to be, cleaned up so that most of the things are clear. Yeah.
Okay, Bom Kelevai, what's your view on this before Boma comes in?
Ife twaliranda kale pali constitution tati there has been a lot of issues that have been raised, and this constitution, this amended constitution that we are currently following, or that was signed by Edgar Lungu, one can understand why it was signed in, I don't know whether it was under duress or why he signed it so quickly that we are now in this situation. There has been a lot of issues, constitutional issues in Zambia, and the Electoral Act also is one of them. And we need to fix this, or else this is going to bite us. And already we can see people are taking advantage. So we cannot all the time rush to the court for clarification over certain things that are straightforward. So we want the constitution that will stand the test of time. And we want a constitution that will be able for every individual to know or to identify themselves when they read through what is there. So to me, I feel the Constitutional Court, yes, may have given guidance or guidelines, but there's a lot for us to learn, and there's a lot for the Zambian people to understand, because no wonder, is it Miti? What's her name?
Laura Miti.
Laura Miti is coming up with such sentiments. She's right. It's confusing. And when you sit down and start digging through and you find that there's a lot of challenges. We don't know what will happen with the High Court decision. We are running to and from. We go to the Supreme Court, to the Constitutional Court. The Constitutional Court says this and drives back the case to the lower court when they know that their decision is final. And this matter, we may go back again to the Constitution if the judge in the High Court rules otherwise. So there's a chance that this case is going to go back to them again. And that's where now issues will be, that they cannot also swallow their own words. So it is quite, they are in a catch-22 issue, situation. These our legal experts, our legal mind, our adjudicators, they are actually in a fix, and they just need to clarify and interpret this constitution very clear to any ordinary Zambian to understand, because it is confusing. They are confusing us. We started from the third term. It has been confusing from the word. To date, we still have these issues. We keep on calling it lacunas, because we see that politics has really been, has taken over the spirit of the Constitution. The Constitution is supposed to, we are supposed to identify ourselves as individuals, as Zambian, in the very Constitution. But we are failing to identify ourselves, because what we identify in, we see only individuals who are in a political position, you know. And these are the chaps that are busy running up and down and going to court, taking each other to court. You will never see an individual from the church or from the NGO to go to court and ask for interpretation. It's the politicians themselves, because they are fighting for something that will benefit them in the wrong land.
Okay.
So to me, this constitution needs to be really reformed. I know there's a lot, but we can always utilize the existing laws, the laws that we have already, that we can rely on and enact or amend or repeal instead of going to the constitution. Let the constitution stay, but let's go to those laws that are a little bit ambiguous. Then we clear them. That's the issue. That's the job of these legislatures. Instead of them all the time politicizing, talking about no, HH has done this or this, they should bring out real issues in parliament, not to kulalia fiama allowances. Nokula chita, nokula letoma pomposity, nokutuka abantu abakalamba. We don't want that kind of nonsense.
You sound very subdued, Womukelewai. I know you're from Adam, and you really do sound like this is the most mellow I've ever seen you. Are you kind of cautioning government not to be too excited about this ruling? That this could come and bite you. These are your words. You said this could come and bite us at some point.
Yeah, because it's a little bit
government.
Well, I am cautioning. It's not just the government; it's the people. Us, the people. You know, these judgments that are being pronounced. At the end of the day, they're gonna affect us, even though we know that it's politicians that are on the receiving end because they are fighting for they're trying to protect their contracts or their future contractual obligations. So that's why they are trying to do those things. Bambi, Mariba Mona from third term. They wanted third term, and the constitution pronounced to us, the Zambians. We were shocked when the constitution is clear, but the court just said no.
Yeah,
this person can stand, but the people, the power, which lies in the people, they just decided to speak to the constitution otherwise. You say, yes, you can say that. That's your law. You can keep your law. We are going to with the ballot paper, and then we go and eliminate this person from standing or stopping him from standing. So the government or any Zambian, well-meaning Zambian, should be concerned about how we are using our constitution to either benefit our selfish needs or to benefit us because we want to run for office. So we should be very careful. We should make a constitution that to speak for everyone, whether you are in opposition or you are in a ruling. It should just be neutral.
Indeed. Thank you very much. I've literally just put Boma in the background because I did not want to be part of those who are listening to teteatetes, private conversations. Maybe this is something of national interest or state secrets. He's on the phone. So I literally very quickly put him in the background.
That's very important. Thank you for doing that.
We'll bring Mr. Kawana back. Thank you so much for persevering and coming back. Now, so the Concord has confirmed that no fresh nominations or elections will be held in Kabushi because of the High Court stay. What is your view on that? The UPND is ecstatic. Is this excitement short-lived? Or will it come to bite you in the political backside?
Maybe first let me sound it. Am I because the internet today here.
Okay.
I'm clear?
So for Boma, if you take internet is not very good, what hope do the rest of the citizens have?
No, I live very far away from Lusaka.
The posh areas, the very posh areas, the joys. No, I think it's pretty decent. There's a little bit of a feedback, but
okay, so we'll try and go we'll try and see how we go. Well, number one, what is important to state is that we as the people should stop putting wrong interpretations over what I was giving an example earlier on that in Mongo last week, the High Court found Madam Ombipiri with a case to answer. And the breaking news was that the High Court has found Mrs. Piri with no case to answer. And it is always the case that matters are taken before court. Interpretation, especially by the interested, become something else. What interested is trying to for the announcements of the courts of their thoughts. Now, when you look at this matter which was taken before the court, the petitioner court, Honorable Mr. Peter Singa and Mr. Isaac Mwanza, petitioned the Concord that number one, the ECZ was wrong to announce the date of elections and proceed minus the participation of the two gentlemen, and this is Honorable Malai and Honorable Sa, and that the court should also set aside the elections. Those prayers have been thrown out. There is now that the matter goes back to the High Court to do. There is no matter. Remember that there was a matter of the High Court which suspended the holding of the elections until the court determines the matter. Then the state appealed to the appeals court, which set aside the High Court's ruling on setting aside the election. So as well, there's no before the court is stopping with the election, and that is why they go for the elections. And therefore, come Friday, elections will be held in Kamushi. The stay that was put by the High Court was lifted by the Court of Appeals. So as we sit tonight, there is no stay on that election. Totally, not before any court at all. So the confusion is always because we want to interpret and misinterpret and misinform the public. Because we want to give information according to how we feel it will be or we feel it should be. Facts are facts. They will not lie. So take before court is what the court will answer. The case before the court answered. When the High Court set aside by staying the election, and the Court of Appeals lifted that stay by the High Court, giving the Election Commission that go before of maybe they should also think of the two that are put out, and the two had the decision. There's no Okwacha was resigned before any Kuzana stay.
The line is very bad. Mr. Kawana's line is very bad. Okay, are you able to hear us, Mr. Kawana?
I think I'm done.
Okay, right. Mishik, what would you like to add to what Mr. Kawana has said?
Well, I would want to first add on what Clever, then I come to the government. Sure. Yes, I agree with what he mentioned to say, where laws are used, to allow, the ruling government, to push certain agendas. The previous government, there's one statement that I always laugh about the 60th president of Zambia. He said, "I'll sign the Zambian constitution with closed eyes." I don't know if Zambians noted that down. That is very important, I think. How do you sign a fundamental document of a country with closed eyes? So meaning, even if there are, things that are lacunas and the like, you'll be there signing and before the public gallery, you're happy and the like. But remember that this is a document that is important to the nation. Yeah, so that just gives you some of the hiccups that we are having in the current constitution, because he was very clear to say, "I'll sign it with closed eyes." And also the point that Mkelewa has just mentioned, that of the Concord. The Concord ruled that President Lungu was eligible for the third term. Basically, in law, that gives a precedence. Let's say the UPND said they can argue to say that but President Lungu was given a third term, so meaning President Hakainde Hichilema can stand for 3 consecutive terms. You see, that brings chaos. It brings chaos because the constitution is very clear. 2 terms, then you have to hang the bag and say, thank you, Zambians, I did my part. Continue with another person. But if you continue playing with the law and the courts and the like here and there, it brings confusion in itself. So basically, I think even the caution to the current president and even the administration, I'm happy that the government is engaging as well, is that please, where possible, allow for what, maybe basic physics, I would say, a people-driven constitution. A mother in Shangombo, a mother in Vubwi, a mother in Chitulika, a mother or, a mother, let's say, in Dundumwez, they must be able to have a say in their fundamental document. So here they are saying, incorporate their sayings or their views about what a Zambian constitution should be. Because remember, Linda, although there were a bit of amendments in the 2016 amendment of the constitution, we inherited, our constitution from the British. So basically, you just get a document, and describe it, make few amendments here and there, then you have that as your constitution. I think that is a problem. So basically, my appeal or plea to the president of Zambia, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, is that where possible, as a people-driven constitution should be spearheaded. All voices of the the CEOs, the voices of the general public, the people, the Zambians, the ordinary Zambians. It shouldn't be only the rich. The poorest of our societies should be able to have a say in their fundamental document of the state. And my plea also is that if God allows that we had a new, let's say another amendment in our constitution, President Hakainde Hichilema, he should not sign it with closed eyes. He must also be able to, consult his experts and also listen to the document. Okay, are we in line? But what I'm trying to convey here is that the people themselves should decide. Their voices should reflect in the fundamental document of the state. We should not have only few groupings sitting in Siavonga or few political parties sitting, masquerading to be representing a population of 19 million plus. Then you say, this is the views of the people. No. Allow all the views of the people, and also hear from even the experts. But like I mentioned even at first, it's not that lawyers are the ones that can say, okay, this is what everything should be. The ordinary Zambians have got also a right, to have a say in their fundamental document of the land, the constitution, I would say. So Zambians should be able to submit the, non-governmental organizations. The church is important also to give their say. And also the ordinary Zambians must be able to, if you have all sectors of society being able to add their voice towards the fundamental document of the state, then I think we would be able to have a people-driven constitution.
Indeed. And I think I would like government to respond to that very important point that you have just made, Ramishek, because here in the United Kingdom itself, everything has gone belly up. And they're considering changing everything. They can't even stick to their own constitution, let alone expecting us as Africans to adhering to a constitution that was created 100 and something years ago. It's just unsustainable. The economy here is just completely crazy. We've had how many? 5, 6 prime ministers within one tenure. So it's very clear that as a people, we need to take ownership of the running of our country, the running of our own judicial system and various, including education. Actually, I want Mr. Kawana to come back because we had a program recently.
In fact, just to add on, because you asked me a question which I've not answered concerning the view of government.
Yeah.
I think he brought out a very important point that if you are an analyst, I think I've also observed that there's a situation where government releases, a memo, or let's say a position, then it's outed. I think that trend is very dangerous to the public eyes and ears, because I have noticed you'd find that government releases, let's say, a press statement, then it's outed by, of course, opposition or school, unscrupulous, we could say. That is a problem because people now are given filtered information or information that is not true. So my submission to government, I'm happy that government is here, is that of course we already have the Ministry of Communication and the like. I only hope that Daily Mail can be that Daily Mail that we used to do. If you read Daily Mail, you know that this news is actually true. We should have a very, very, very well organized. I believe they are working on it. I hope so, and I know that through Honorable Tabo Kawana and various parts of government, I'm sure are working on that issues. There should be a very good way of communication because we have noticed. You'd find that like even today, the ruling has already been outed. You can read various media platforms and the like.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. You cannot regulate media unless you have a dictatorial tendency. And the goodness is Zambia is a democracy, and we're happy that all voices, all various platforms. But I think we should also I would say those that run platforms with various or huge followings should always caution whatever they air to the public, because it has got serious influence on the masses, and that can be a very dangerous thing if not well regulated.
Indeed. Just on that point that you have just raised, I will read you the same news, different platforms. So Patriotic Front PF Facebook page, no fresh nominations or elections in Kabushi and Kwacha as High Court order staying elections is valid, according to Concord. Elections can be held outside 90 days, same platform. Another platform's Smart Ego, completely different. So that is a very important point that you have just raised, taking responsibility of journalism and not all these brand new phenomena that was, I think, popularized by the Trump administration, the alternative facts. I think there's got to be some morality when it comes to reporting, not just reporting news to suit a particular demographic. I think this is really important. Mr. Kawana is really struggling with his internet connection today. Now, I just want us to start digging a little bit deeper because I was delaying the conversation just so that he can get his internet connection sorted. Where would you like to pick it up from, Wom Kelebai? Obviously, you have cautioned, and I think this is the first time I've heard you caution, but in a very subtle way. But I take it as caution that we really must be careful what trajectory we want this country to go on, because parties come and go. Our allegiances to parties and to political personalities do come and go. But the primary or basic thing should be allegiance to country. Because someone said jokingly in Lamba, I won't repeat this. My grandfather said this. God has stopped creating countries. Yeah. God creates leaders all the time. There's a whole cohort of leaders, but he stopped creating countries. There's one Zambia. And if we mess this up by creating laws or making use of gaps in the law that are going to benefit a particular situation, I think that will be quite detrimental. Now, Does anyone have anything to add to this before we move on to another topic?
Let me just say something, just to add on what Wokawana put up. It was very. I think he has cleared the air, and when we have information coming from him, representing the government, and people would take that seriously, unless otherwise. So we are very happy that the court, or rather, there is no longer any case. Hopefully, there is no any case that is going to be before the courts of law, pertaining to the elections that are taking place in Kabushi, that the Concord has put a final ruling to it, meaning its judgment takes precedent, and there's no other action that was actually commenced, that is under the High Court, that will continue or go on, because all the injunctions or those injunctious cases that were before the court, those petitions, the stay has actually been taken by event, because the Supreme Court of the land the Concord has already made a decision. And this is where we want the government to come in and disseminate this information to ordinary Zambians before these people, the propagandists, and people start spreading false information, amending, because they are full of, we know that these blogs that you just read, they love amending the truth, and to suit their viewership, or so that they don't lose the number. Because right now, most of our journalists today and these blogs that we see today that are political by nature, they are so full of numbers. They want to have as much numbers as possible and as much likes as possible, and they would concoct the truth, and the lie or story that has been published by the courts of law, and they would twist it to their satisfaction. So we need the government, under the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, to come up with a final, to just summarize the decision of the court and say this is what this court has said, so that anybody that would want to say otherwise will be actually defeated. No one would come and speak when the government has given its own, unless the government is doubting their story. So we need the government to come out there to speak first, because today in this world, in this information world, it's who comes first, who gives what information.
Yeah.
So the more we delay in disseminating this information to the Zambian people or to the world, these propagandists or these people who are full of balonies, who want to lie, who want to capitalize on, who are concocting lies on lies and lies, they will report fake news. And many African Zambians today thrive on falsehood. They even listen, they even start hating the government, because the government has not acted. So we are requesting or humbling to you, the New Dawn government, please, we are craving for information. Give us the information. Give us what the court has said in black and white. Report to us. We want to hear the Minister of Information to speak or to hold a press briefing, whatever. The court today has decided this and this and this. Therefore, the elections will go on. Come rain, come sunshine, unless there's an injunction somewhere else. For now, that is how you eliminate falsehood, because you have spoken, people believe you. people love listening to what the government is doing, what is happening within the circles of the government, including the judiciary also. They should also come up with their own press release, whatever they call it, and they speak to the Zambian people. So we need, Wokawan, we need information. We are craving for information. We want you guys to come out, and we are happy to have you here. And we love when you speak, because you speak your mind and you speak from the truth. And when you speak from the truth, you are not even scared to make a mistake, because you are speaking from the truth. When you say the truth, it is this very truth that will set you free.
Thank you.
And you are confident in speaking. So we want Bokawana and the group in the information, the dissemination information world, please feed us. We are starving. We are craving for information from the government of what is going on.
Thank you, Womkelevai. Thank you so much. Bamishek, do you think the Minister of Information is doing enough?
Well, I would say they are doing enough, just politically, being a political scientist, just to add on what my brother has mentioned, politically, again, you look at this issue and say, okay, should we come out first as government, in the mind of Kawana? They'll say, they are engineering the what? The Kabushi elections. They are the ones behind, so anyway, but they should, like he has mentioned, government should always strike a balance to come in at some point and be able to, give the information. Like I had suggested at first. A long time, of course, I was young. I'm just 29 years. I'm not that old.
Of course.
Yes.
I'll
a
be
long time
16
ago,
tomorrow.
when I was in grade 12, if you read Daily Mail, you know that this information has not been filtered at all.
Yeah.
So what like I suggested, I think the network for Honorable Kawana was a bit shaky. But I suggested to say there should be a very good way or system through you have the Ministry of Communication and Information platform, which is good. There's always briefs and also statements, but also even just speaking, you come out, even yourself or the Minister of Information, just to clear the air, or even the Minister of, Justice. You come out before, the propaganda machines, which we know that,
there will be plenty of it. We've already said.
They are beyond, and it's well organized.
Well-oiled machine, yeah.
I don't want to go, but I know to say others even went out of the country just to.
With our stolen money. With our stolen money.
Allegedly. Allegedly.
With our allegedly. You allegedly want. I'm just waiting for the court to start sentencing. I'm tired of allegedly.
Thank you.
So that's the point. And I know that, tenants of democracy, in short, live in UPND. You can see the, part of the information team, the director is here. Yeah. He's able to engage with the masses. That just shows that there's democracy in a government that has got tenants of dictatorship. They always run away from the media. They will try to be in the shelves, as we used to see. Even just debates, they don't want. It's like a taboo, just showing up for a debate.
That is interesting. Having said that, I've got Honorable Tutwanguluwe on Thursday, so not quite shying away from the debate. So he will be here, and will be quite interesting to see what he has to say about this matter. Now, thank you so much, Ramishek. Director Kawana, the Concord cannot bully High Court. All they are saying is that High Court is handling this same question of by-elections in Kwacha and Kabushi. It is important to note that the High Court is handling the issue of Lusambo and Mulanje versus ECZ. Now, do you think there is a personal vendetta?
Well, there's totally no personal vendetta whatsoever. Like I stated earlier, let me just repeat that there was a stay issued by the High Court to put aside the election, to postpone the election. And then the Court of Appeals put aside that stay that reverted the status quo to it being normal. And the Electoral Commission of Zambia then set the date, which is 21st, which is this coming Friday. And people rushed to the Constitutional Court to try and stop it. And the two questions they took there to try and get the ECZ cited for having breached the Constitution, and also to set aside the election and conduct fresh nominations. Both questions have been thrown out by the Constitutional Court, again reverting the status quo to what it is now. So currently there's no stay on the Kabushi and the Kwacha by-election. There's no stay from any court whatsoever, and the course is clear. The elections will be held on Friday. Regardless of the many interpretations and misinterpretations that they would want to conduct, bottom line remains that there will be elections on Friday the 21st, as it is, and there's no court that has stayed this election.
I would like to give you an opportunity, Director Kawana, to debunk some of those misconceptions. Like Mr. Mkelevai said, there are so many misconceptions because government is leaving too much gap, too much room for speculation to occur, for fake news to grow legs, and then it becomes truth. You know, there's a saying that goes, the more you hear fake news, you know, the sooner people start believing it. So what misconception?
Well, really what is happening is that it's people just being mischievous. And mainly so it is the Patriotic Front as a political party. They like to be mischievous, cantankerous, by spreading fake information, even when they know that it is not. You will recall that last week, again, the breaking news was that Madam Mondipiri has not been found with a case to answer, when in fact she was found with a case to answer. I'll give you an example. Over the weekend, they read with a story that the government has sold the toll gates. When there's no such news. It doesn't even exist.
On that point, sorry to cut you short, just on that point, we had one honorable gentleman who is hiding away here in the United Kingdom. He had a press conference saying that Hakainde Hichilema, he's selling the country's silver, meaning the toll gates. So that is very important. And again, government did not say anything about that.
Well, government did say on Saturday itself, when they said that the toll gates have been sold, Honorable Minister for Infrastructure Development, Honorable Mirupi, issued a statement, and it was repeated today. He emphasized that there is no such a thing as having sold the toll gates.
So you're not spreading your information wide enough then, because if I did not hear about it, be rest assured.
It was on news.
Not. ZNBC.
It was on news.
ZNBC.
Yes.
How many people listen to ZNBC?
Well, it was on ZNBC News. It was a media statement. It has been broadcast on Diamond TV News. It has been broadcast on Cabinet News, and it has been broadcast on ZNBC News. These are the news outlets that I have personally monitored. So I know that the position of government, as stated by the Minister of Infrastructure, is that no such thing is even in the pipeline. The toll gates are being administered by the National Road Fund Agency, NFRA, under the Ministry of Finance.
But where did this come from?
It came from PF and out of their hallucinations. Just like today, the PF hallucinated that the government has failed to disburse school grants to schools, and therefore the exams are in jeopardy because schools are dry. Again, I stated personally myself, I handled this matter this afternoon, and it has appeared on all news outlets, that the government has been funding all schools. In fact, Term 3 grants were in the accounts of all schools in Zambia before Term 3 opened, and that the quarterly disbursements are ongoing. And today, just today, we have also released the fourth quarter, which is for October, going to December. We have released money for the fourth quarter, and also made it very clear that the school grants are not the ones used to administer examinations. Examinations budget is different, and it is handled by the Examination Council of Zambia, which the government has funded fully, and the government did state that there is no more paying for examination fees because we know that we're going to pay for our people. And we have paid for our people. We have given money to the Examination Council of Zambia. The examinations are on course, they are ready, and they've even done something that has not been done before. The ECZ has disbursed funds to all the districts to a tune of 40,000 kwacha per district, and to all the provinces to a tune of 80,000 kwacha per province, just for the sake of monitoring and conducting of examinations. The swearing in of those to invigilate are already ongoing. Lusaka was briefing its teachers today. So the examinations are on course. So the insinuation by the PF that there's such a scenario obtaining when in fact there isn't is merely hallucination. That is why
Mr. Kawana?
That is why, now let me just finish. That is why I took time to sympathize with the Opposition Patriotic Front, that we understand that they are undergoing a post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a depression that is arising from a traumatic event, such as the loss of elections in 2021. That is extremely traumatic for them, and they are in depression. Now, I did state that this government, your caring government, because PF is also our baby and this is their government, and because we care so much for them, we are prepared to pay for psychosocial counseling for all the PF leaders, so that maybe we can finally get some proper checks and balances, as opposed to subjecting the nation to these hallucinations. And out of those hallucinations, they are now bringing assertions that do not exist. So they talk about issues that do not exist. A court case has been pronounced by the Constitutional Court. What was taken there has been thrown out. So there's no issue. There's no stay in any court. Come Friday, elections are going ahead. But they continue to hallucinate. So even as they hallucinate, the elections will go on Friday. So the issue really here is that we need as a nation to use a day such as tomorrow to really focus and pray for our colleagues in the Patriotic Front, that they get over this defeat of 2021, so that they quickly get out of the depression, so that they cease to hallucinate and begin to propagate not only fake news, but news that does not exist, which they themselves concoct and decide to give the people of Zambia. But what is good is that it is like somebody telling you, Madam Linda, that you are a man, and you know that you are a woman, you're not a man. So sometimes you wonder what they're trying to achieve, because at the end of the day, everyone knows you're a woman. So even these lies that they are concocting out of hallucinations, people are able to see that the bottom line remains that, hey, elections will take place on Friday, examinations will go on, the toll gates have not been sold. So we really pray for our brothers.
Do you think the PF need only prayer? Perhaps throw in a bit of fasting, maybe that might work. I don't know. The key thing
they require both prayers and fasting. But since we are on international fora, we can also be prepared to pay for those that are very good at casting out demons to come and cast out the demons. We can pay for the flight.
The papas, we've got papas who can do that. You do venture in that territory as papa, don't you? I've heard. But you
no way.
This weekend you are a part-time papa.
Yeah.
On a serious note,
you've tickled me. I am
terribly tickled.
The government is prepared to pay for.
It's bomb and bomber. A very generous.
Is that official?
The papas, any papa they are capable of casting out the demons of defeat can get in touch. We can pay for them to come.
Wendy.
You try to be professional, it just doesn't work, does it? Just never mind.
No, sometimes they require the language they best understand. So let's talk. Let's engage.
Right. Mr. Kawan, I've now lost my line of thought. God, I was going to behave. I was wondering, do you think perhaps there should be some serious repercussions to these news media stations that propagate lies? Because right now we're laughing about it. It's a light moment. No one has been killed. It's just a case of you coming back and correcting misconceptions. But there will be a time when some of these assertions will be a life-threatening situation, or a life-changing situation, because some of these things that they propagate, look at what happened in Rwanda. The Tutsis and the Hutus, they started fighting, and there was this civil war that killed millions of people. And it was as a result of these seemingly minor situations. But some of these propaganda machines, some people, like Abamishek said, they've ventured out. Yeah, we are monitoring. They're out of the country trying to top up on the dose of propaganda stuff that they're getting up to. So do you think there should be something a bit more concrete that can be implemented to ensure that people don't get away with propagating
Well,
lies?
I think that seeing as tonight we are using the language that they best understand, because when we are civil, they really don't understand. So allow me to take the opportunity to warn them, the administrators of these media outlets or social media outlets like the PF page, Smart Eagles, the Candidate, and so on. I want to warn those administrators that under the cyber law which the PF themselves brought, it is a serious criminal offense and jailable if you spread false news deliberately. So they may be enjoying themselves right now by always putting up misinformation and innuendos and lies. But one day they will be caught up, because the idea I want to believe is that they want to deliberately misbehave so that when they are arrested, they try to paint a picture to the international community that the government is dictatorial and gagging the media or gagging information. So currently what we are doing is to ensure that where there's misinformation, we put the correct information as we are doing now. But I want to repeat that I will warn the administrators of these outlets that are deliberately putting out misinformation, that it is an offense before the law, and one day you will dance to the law. The very law you yourselves brought.
But Mishek, thank you very much, Mr. Kawana. I'm sure that is crystal clear. Unless, what would you like to add to that?
Well, one thing that I would agree with what Mr. Kawana has mentioned. It's very hard to regulate media. Why? It's because, like I keep on saying, we are a democratic state, and democracy entails that various voices, even those that are not agreeing with what they also have a say. But like he has mentioned, there's no way or reason why someone would want to perpetuate, false information. You've given a good example of Rwanda. It was a sorry sight, and we do not want to go towards that. Because even before the elections, you could see the tribalism that was being spearheaded. Media has got serious influence in terms of politics now in our land, because most of our youths are on social platforms such as Facebook. You could talk of now the new one that is, used for videos, TikTok and like. Yeah. So if someone does not want to say the truth, I think it is just wrong, because Zambia comes first. And if you want to spearhead tribalism, you want to spearhead propaganda, you want to spearhead lies, what does it benefit? Politics, like I keep on saying, they should be based on ideas, not on insults. If you follow most of the pages that, like he had mentioned, they spearhead tribalism. And, even if you do not want to comment, you are forced to comment and try to rebuke some of this, propaganda, and especially tribalism. It's one Zambia, one nation. The founding fathers knew the reason to coin such a phrase. Dr. Kenneth Kaunda knew that, a state that has got more than, in fact, that has got 73 ethnic, tribes, it's not easy to, to lead or handle. So let's coin a phrase, one Zambia, one nation. In fact, he even had a strategy of moving, people like myself coming from the southern, you'll be pushed to the copper belt. Someone from the copper belt pushed maybe to the southern side, so that there's that, coexistence, and also, being able to understand each other, because you're one Zambia, one nation. Even, I won't go into security issues, but propaganda itself can even deter the security of the state. It can just mess up the whole state.
Yeah.
So regulation, in a way, should be on ourselves, or even the political parties themselves. If indeed they thrive that they would want to save a state, you should be able to, do good politics, I would call it. Yeah.
Do you think political parties are capable of self-regulating based on
It's
what
very possible. It's very possible to do self-regulation politics. I'll give an example of here, where I am in Denmark. In Scandinavia, I've not seen, politics of tribal.
Yeah.
Of course, the language that we use is Danish, but
It's very
there's
mellow.
also,
The Scandinavian countries are very mellow, they're gentle, and even very little competition, so to speak. So I'm not sure our
we should understand to say, Denmark is where it is now because of time. And I believe that even us as Zambians, we shall be there at some point. We have a new administration, new ideas and the like. It took billions, or let me say, a lot of years for Rome to be built. Absolutely. We can build a well-organized Zambia with a change of mentality. So it's just a matter of political parties themselves. There's no way or no reason why, let's say a legal case or interpretation by the courts should be altered by a political party. What are you trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Just say the truth, and truthlessness in itself just, even maybe gains you more voters, because you're trying to lie and lie and lie to the people just to discredit government. You'd be in government yourself one day.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want people to continue discrediting. So what I would want to say is the fact that we can indeed, be like other, countries, let's say like Denmark, where there's more democracy and the like. We've seen that cadres now are no longer there. I was in Zambia a few months ago. I was walking in town. Of course, I need to be cautious because they can just pickpocket if you are too happy. There's always a bit. But yes, especially near the bridges there, you have to be careful. Yeah, so fly over bridges, and like my friends have been attacked before. But the thing is, Zambia is headed for better things. You can see that the model, for me, I call it a political model. Rwanda has got a model of, where families are given some cattle, in villages. The model that we have, even if people are calling it CDF, for me, I would call it a model in its own, because it's, diversification of resources. More people, more families will be able to buy some sheep, some goats and the like, and families will be better, with free education. You just have to worry maybe tertiary at some point. And I believe and I hope that, with the government in this platform, I believe that one day maybe, God willing, that even the tertiary component also be free.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I always try to squeeze in as much as possible when we have Uteko in their house. But before I get into some perhaps not very comfortable topics, but they're very important to our people that government can respond to. Wonkelevai, did you want to add or take away anything from what Vamishek said and Mr. Kawana?
Thank you so much, Wolinda. Wakawana is right on is very right in many issues that he raised, and I just hope and trust that the so-called propagandists, and those who are trying to spread falsehood are able to listen for him to issue such kind of a stern warning that they are watching and they will use. It's the government.
Yeah.
They will come for you. They will hunt for you and find you and prosecute you. That's not easy for the government to say those things. And when they do that, you come here and start crying, persecution, persecution. I'm sorry, you were warned. Why should you give false information to the Zambian people or precipitate hate?
And
Because that's
expect
what
to
we
get away
see.
with it.
Yes, and we see that there's too much hate, and already you can hear PF cadres or members. They are not actually, they are disrespecting the current government. Whatever the current government says, because of those falsehoods, because of those wrong information that they get, you can tell that they are misinformed, and through ignorance, they just go ahead. They don't even do their own research to find out the truth. They just believe as long as the message is coming from one of their own who is a senior or who was once a senior. That's why I almost requested to Wolungo at one point to say, find a spokesperson that would speak for you, not you ushering or saying words that are not, that may actually, you may incriminate yourself even when you know that you have an immunity, because you are defending yourself already before you are even arrested or investigated. So to me, I find these utterances that these guys are busy giving, they are just busy putting fuel on fire. So they don't know what they're doing. And we want to ask them, please do not mislead our fellow Zambians who believe in you, who once believed in you. Give the Zambian people the right information. And what really saddens is that the professional people within the party are the ones in the forefront giving wrong information, perpetrating hate by giving falsehood. The lawyers giving legal lies. They're coming up with their own analysis from their own heads without following the right procedure, without following the constitution or the rules or the orders or the judgment from the court. They misinterpret it in their own understanding just to please those around them. To me, the Law Association of Zambia should look into that and actually discipline such kind of legal minds, because they are a danger. They are the ones giving false hopes to criminals or people that are alleged to have been to have stolen. So we need to be very careful and professional. As a lawyer, you simply deal with matters basing on your facts and read the law and interpret what the law says and say it the way it is. You don't have to add 1, 2, 3, 4 just to sweeten and no.
Okay.
So the Law Association of Zambia should actually discipline, not na wobeka fezi tabalelanda febale poke ya allowances. No, you will be contributory held liable.
Thank you.
Too.
Thank you, Mr. Excellent. Now, Boma, we have a statement here which says your government has approved an amendment to NAPSA reforms. We're moving very swiftly to another topic. I've got quite a few to touch on. I mean, we've got Boma in the house. We might as well take advantage. It's not every day that we have someone to respond to these questions. So your government has approved an amendment to NAPSA reforms so as to provide members of the scheme an option to access part of the contributions before retirement. This is one of our campaign commitments, and this was written by His Excellency Mr. Hakainde Hichilema. Quite a few campaign promises you've already fulfilled within the 1 year mark. Does this make you feel braggadocio, or is it just that you're kind of efficient?
Not at all. For us, this is any other day. Remember, the president said two things very clearly. Number one, that we are going to raise the bar. And you have seen that the bar has been raised so high that the opposition has completely become irrelevant in the country. They have no issues to raise in terms of checks and balances. So there's a lunatic in State House. All that is because there's nothing that they can raise. Because the bar has been raised so high, there's no issue that they could pick on. So the only thing they can do is insult and also hallucinate things. All those are as a result of a traumatic experience, such as having lost elections. And also, number two, you must understand that we were elected on the premise of bringing about change. And some of these promises that were made to the people, the president again made it very clear that they are not promises, they are assurances, because they ought to accrue to the people anyway. And he told the people of Zambia, you elect me president, I will reform the NAPSA Act so that you are able to access part of your money while you are still working, so that you may invest while you still have the energy to do so and grow your money on your own, so that by the time you retire, you have somewhere to lay your head on, because you had the opportunity to access part of your money and be able to invest it. And this made the people feel very happy, such that they started calling on us to say, when are you ever going to do this? And I remember coming on this forum saying, by January, we should be getting headways. And Cabinet sat on Friday, and it has approved in principle that the amendment be taken to Parliament. Therefore, by January, you will see that the people now will be able to access part of their pension via NAPSA, compliments of the instruction they gave His Excellency the President, and an assurance His Excellency the President had pledged before the people. So for us, we won't brag about it. For us, it's not something that we feel excited about. All we know is that we're elected to do a job, and we're here to do the job. The President made it very clear. For us, it's different. It's black versus white. You had a regime that believed in party after party after party. Even when the president traveled, he would go ndeke furu makada furu ma musician kuimba kula kuvina banyimbo kufupika president kufika pa dance floor kukwesha matako pants. All that was all out of just playfulness. But this president will move with a very lean delegation, and when he's done with the business of the day, he immediately instructs his team, let's go back, we've got work to do at home. I think you heard him say that at the UN. Immediately he was done, he says, let's go back home, there's work to do. But you remember that our colleagues, when they were there, when they went to the UN, they had boat cruises, hiring limousines, and this president also made it very clear, says, who is this person in my delegation? They said, Your Excellency, this one is the impress carrier. What impress? No, this one carries impress in case mafuno vinako kushita party. This is the money we use. The president says it will not happen under my rule. I do not need to move with an impressed carrier. And now when the president moves, there's no impressed carrier. So that shows you the difference between us and them. It's purely black and white. So the standards, the bar, everything has been raised. We are here to work, work, and work.
I impressed Johnny.
Impressed carrier. There's like a cashier or accountant that moves with the president, and he carries cash in dollars for spending. And the president says, no more.
Impress Carrie, I've learned something. Thank you so much. We have been joined by somebody, I don't know who, but we will move very swiftly on. Gosh. Impress Carrie.
That's a very good move and recommended move.
But if for to FY Bakawana never HH. require information mutupele for Zambians about those amounts of money that were lost in those areas, so that we also, could also make, we can draw a line as well and either say something about these guys, what they did. But this information is just privy to you in government, but not the people you represent. Why is that so? I'm going to favor information, so that when we know, because sometimes I feel like we just talk that they were stealing, and we don't see what they have done. They are busy bragging around, saying we didn't steal. That was not true. I remember at one point, our president was even saying, if I show you what I found, you will be surprised. You won't even, he cautioned us. But this is the gentleman who has decided in his own individual capacity forgiving those who trespasses against him. What about us? What about us individuals that were consuming those expired drugs, that lost families as a result of those expired drugs and condoms? Women were pregnant, unwanted pregnancies where people were conceived on those condoms that were produced. I know that the cases, they're in court, they're going forward in court, but I'm going to face some of this information. We need to know. Show us so that we also can draw the line and argue when they start attacking us on the street to say you are lying, you're just capitalizing on, you're just lying. Let's show us, then we can show them that, look, what about this money? Like the fire trucks.
Yeah, thank you. I would say on that one, a lot of these cases are in court, so we would not want to compromise Ubuteko in that way. As you are a legal mind yourself, a lot of these cases are in court. Now, I want us to touch a little bit on structures. As you can see, we are literally jumping from one topic to another. This is the Chintowentowe, literally just talk about the current trends, what is going on, things that people are concerned about. Do you think you still have...
Kantunyaga Msawata.
I am Biani.
Kantunyaga Msawata.
Here and there. Yeah, structures. Just talk us through what is the current state of affairs. The opposition, again, whether they're right or wrong, but even the UPND party members themselves, they have said structures are very shaky. Do you agree that structures are very shaky on the ground? And if you do agree, what is government doing about it? Or what is the party doing about it?
Which structures are we talking about?
UPND structures.
Oh, yeah, but you see, the moment I get to answer that question, then I'll be told, is he a civil servant functioner?
That is very true. I'm going to have, I think we will be joined by somebody who will be able to speak on that regard. That's very true. And you are completely excused from that. Let's move on to violence. There was, I think Wom Kelembai opened with this.
Yes, I heard that the concern about the violence that took place during the filing in of nomination, a very unfortunate incident. And I also want to state here that it was condemned by the highest office. There was a statement issued by the Excellency the President through his spokesperson condemning the violence and also calling on the police to ensure that all perpetrators, regardless of political party affiliation, are brought to book.
Okay. What do you think caused the violence?
Well, basically, it is political intolerance. Because even if the opposition PF, for example, brought a candidate that did not qualify to stand in the election, it is not the problem of the UPND. It is actually to the advantage of the UPND if they bring a candidate who is disqualified. So it was at a point when the PF were filing in their nomination, and they had a fracas with the police, and the UPND cadres appeared on the scene. Now, when it is time for the PF to file in, the UPND have got no business there. Just like when it is time for the UPND to file in, the PF have no business there. So already that tells you that that is political fracas. Those are remnants of political cadreism, and they should not be condoned. Clearly here, the UPND provoked the situation, and therefore they must be condemned in the strongest terms possible. And that is why the president had issued a very strong statement condemning the violence and calling on the police to ensure that all perpetrators, regardless of political party affiliation, are brought to book. Because that incident happened at the time that was allocated to the PF to fight in their nomination, and therefore the UPND had no business being there.
Okay, thank you very much. We have been joined by Kelvin Shimba. Kelvin, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Linda. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Okay.
How are you on fire?
We've got all
I am burning.
At Copper Belt, we say, like Kelvin, you're from the Copper Belt. We say, Ubuteko in the view. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, two more topics that I have that I would like you to touch on before we invite Kelvin, who's just joined us. There was a news headline talking about government admitting that there has been a shortage of medicine. Now, you and I, Mr. Kawana, we talk quite an awful lot. And one of our earlier programs, you assured me, sent me videos and you actually physically went to this warehouse, you took a video and forwarded it, and you reassured that there was medicine. But there was a news article that came out a few days ago where government was admitting that there has been a shortage of medicine. And when I asked you to give me a date when the people of Zambia would expect to ensure that there's enough stock of medicine, and I think you gave me 4 weeks. How do you reconcile the conversation that we had previously to the conversation that has been in the press the past few days?
Again, it is bordering on misinformation. Currently, all health facilities in our country are stocking above 80%. So the medicines are there. There is, of course, misbehaving of other health workers in health facilities, especially those that own drugstores. And these are drugs that they steal from the facility and put in their private drugstores that would like to issue prescriptions for the patients to go and buy from their drugstores. And also want to give an impression that the medicines are not there when they are there. The medicines are there, and that is why even Health Minister is on record just on Friday, sternly warning the health workers to desist from this behavior of telling people that there are no medicines. She was actually even in Kitwe, where she warned health workers not to charge women going to attend maternal issues at the clinics, because they've even started charging maternal issues when government does not charge at all. The news headline of talking about government having admitted is stemming from a statement on the floor of Parliament, where Honorable Milupi, as acting Minister of Health, was answering a question, and he did that yes, there was a period that we had a low stock of medicine to no stocks, and it has been rectified. And all they did is pick up that piece where it says yes, there was a period when we had no medication, and said government has admitted that there was no medication. And that is why immediately Health Minister Masebo got back on duty. She had to go around health facilities again to spot check, and you will find that the medicines are there. The procurement of medicines has been moved from the Ministry of Health to ZAMSA. And ZAMSA is procuring medication. It is just the other week that the Director General of ZAMSA was on Sunday interview, and he gave the nation the status. So the 4 weeks I told you elapsed, and I'm reconfirming that we have medicines in health facilities, and that we also have more medicines coming through even from Egypt that ZAMSA has procured. What we do have are cantankerous health workers whom the minister warns that they will now start firing them for misbehaving. And this misbehavior stems from corruption and theft, where they steal drugs from the hospitals, stock them in their illegal private pharmacies, where they now channel the patients to go there and procure the medicines when they're supposed to give them from the hospital. Secondly, I also want to make it very clear that the drug situation has normalized, because apart from you going to the hospital and finding that the drug may not be there, especially those to do with specialized diseases or non-communicable diseases, such as high blood pressure and sugar and all these things, or even those of us who are like me, who are renal patients. Sometimes the medication may not be there at the health facility for the government, and the medication is expensive. Your government, through NEMA, has also made it very possible that if I go to, for example, I go to UTH or Kitwe Central Hospital, and I find that the drug that has been prescribed to me is not there, I can go to a private pharmacy and still collect it free of charge. NEMA will pay. So here I will go there, produce my NEMA number, and they will give me the drug, regardless of how much it is. People accessing drugs that are as expensive as 7,000 kwacha. Even the drugs and the medicines that are used, for example, for chemotherapy, they are rarely found in government hospitals, but they are available in private health institutions and pharmacies, costing between 7,000 and 11,000 kwacha. Our people are able to go and collect those medications and continue with their chemotherapy, because government will pay for them through NEMA. So the drug situation is not as bad as it is being propelled.
Okay, thank you very much. I had, by the way, just to add this, I'm really enjoying what is happening in your parliament. Some of it is quite bonkers, some of it borderline and just hilarious. But what was quite constructive was what the Minister of Health was talking about, and she was making an assertion that the money is there for procurement of certain specific drugs to be made, but people are not using that money. And she actually did say that she alluded to the fact that this is being perpetrated by the people from the previous regime. Now, my question is, if you know that you've got a group of people in a workforce that are jeopardizing your agenda, why would you keep them?
Because government operates with a very big heart. It will give you enough rope. You can use that rope to make something out of it, maybe make a boat and help you cross the river, or you can use it to hang yourself. But time always comes when the government acts. So we have a lot of cantankerous people. And the president did say that it is not like we don't want to fire people, we can't fire people. He's giving them a chance to change, because civil servants are supposed to work with the government of the day. But if you feel strongly that you cannot work with this government will also feel very strongly to allow you to go home. And therefore, this is but their final warning that has come from the Minister of Health, that those that will continue to misbehave will be fired.
Okay, Kelvin, you have just joined. I mean, we have covered an array of topics. Please dive in. Feel free to take a pick.
Great. Thanks, Linda. I think the issue I wanted to speak to is regarding healthcare, right? And, Tabo has given, an update on the drug situation and things like that. But I think the biggest problem we have as a country is that we rely on the goodwill of individuals. Here, we're relying on the goodwill of, hospital professionals, for instance, to do the right thing with those medicines that government is delivering to the hospitals. We can't do that. We need to create systems that protect these resources. We need to create processes that ensure that any drug missing will be caught in a very short space of time. You see that? This issue of health professionals misdirecting drugs to their own pharmacies and things like that is not a new thing. It was happening in the MMD. It was happening in the PF. It's happening in the UPND. So we as a nation must sit back and identify the root cause and attack that root cause, right? By warning people, by firing people, we are not solving the problem. The problem will still exist. On one of the shows, Linda, I gave a good example. We should not rely on the goodwill of a person that becomes president. No, we should rely on the laws, on the existing laws, on the enforceability of those laws, on the checks and balances that those laws were enacted for. Why? Because we might have a good-hearted president today, right, who decides not to abuse his powers, his or her powers, sorry, who decides to do the right thing. But after that good president, then we have a bad president. What happens? If we don't have the laws to protect national resources, those resources will be subjected to abuse by the next bad person. So in this case, Tabo, I think guys sit down, dive deep into this and identify where the root cause is, what the problem is, and then start putting in interventions. Warning people won't work, firing people won't work. Why? Because we're depending on the goodwill of people to do the right thing. I don't think Zambia as a society, I'm sorry to say, has reached that point where people will be accountable for their own actions. I'm sorry to say that. We are not there yet, right? Societies that are prospering, right, are the ones that have put in interventions, they have put in protocols, they have put in processes, they have put in systems, and those systems are constantly updated to make sure that any security breaches are caught in a very, very short space of time. Thanks.
Well, it would interest you to also note that one of the reasons we had that hiccup at the beginning was that because we realized the problem and that it was historical and that it was the same problem from MMD through to PF, and we wanted to change it, and we have changed. The first thing we noticed was that medicines were procured centrally by the Ministry of Health. The people procuring medicines were not pharmacists. And once they were procured, they were taken to medical stores where they were stored by pharmacists and distributed by pharmacists. This government has changed the system. They have reformed medical stores into ZAMSA. And ZAMSA now has also been given the responsibility to be the ones to procure the medicines, because they are the pharmacists, they are the medicine people. So they are the ones now, under our government, it is ZAMSA that is procuring, it is ZAMSA that is stocking, it is ZAMSA that is distributing. So that has been sorted out on the procurement part and distribution. Coming to the hospital, also systems have been put in place in the pharmacies where once the drugs are received, they are coded. They are received, so it shows you, you have a tracking system where you're able to tell what drugs were brought, on what day, in what quantities, and who received them, and where they are stocked in the pharmacy. And then also when you go with your prescription, as you take out your drugs, they are also coded as they are being dispensed by our pharmacists at the hospital. So it tells you what drugs have come from where and who has dispensed, which particular pharmacist has dispensed. That is why we are able to tell that even when there was a fake story, for example, that there were no drugs, malaria medication and BP medication at Chirenge Hospital, we were able to follow it up within 30 minutes because we are able to check from ZAMSA when they distributed, what quantities, and we're also able to check on the system at Chirenge when they and we now went to check in the stores, and they were there. And then somebody was propagating that there are no such drugs. So what we are battling with here is negative propaganda. What we are battling with here is thieves trying to protect themselves, but also trying to get the people to hate the government. They feel that through their lies and deceit, they can convince the people of Zambia to give President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration only one term, and feel that the people of Zambia can miss them And that is why they are bringing about all this misinformation and negative propaganda, so that the people of Zambia can feel that they are not being serviced, when in fact their government is working. So yes, we are battling with misinformation, and we are deriving also strategies around that. But in terms of systems, I agree with you, and I just want to inform you that that is why we even had that delay, because we are putting in place systems, and the systems are in place as we speak.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Did you want to?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. Tabo, I know you guys are fighting, external forces politically, right? That's going to happen in any environment, in any political environment. But what you in government have is the power and access to so many tools, right? Numbers don't lie. If there's propaganda to say there are no drugs, you have the ability to go to ZAMSA and show the numbers. You have the ability to say ZAMSA distributed, this quantity of drugs to this hospital and this and that. But I guess what you need the most, like my brother Wom Keleba said, I think you need a very, very strong government spokesperson, guys. I think you need it more than ever, because this information is not coming out. You need a very, very strong government spokesperson to come up and say, with well-documented data, if there's propaganda in this line, whoever it is comes up and says, based on this, these people said this to discredit this government. We, your government, a caring government, this is the information we have, verifiable information. I don't think with the machinery that you have, you guys should have sleepless nights over propaganda. Thank you.
Yes, again, I want to state that I appreciate your concern. Check through the media. That is exactly doing. We are going around. I personally have gone around health institutions and opened. Even the media practitioners said for the first time we've been given access to the pharmacy facilities. I opened the pharmacy facilities and allowed cameras to go in and be able to show the medicine and have the pharmacists explain. And so that helped to quell down the situation. What we do is when they give their negative propaganda, we try to ensure that where there's misinformation, we put information. It is just today that the PAF said that we have failed to fund schools and the examinations and jeopardy and so on. I called the media and I gave the statements and I gave the facts as to when we released the funding for the term 3 and when we are releasing the funding for the 4th quarter and how much we have given the Examination Council of Zambia, and how in turn the Examination Council of Zambia have for the first time also distributed financing to the districts and the provinces for the purposes of monitoring and conducting the examinations. That is to quell the propaganda using verifiable information. Tomorrow, I will be dealing with that purported letter that states that Madame Masebo asked for a vehicle to be bought for her, a luxurious motor vehicle to be bought for her. They asked the supplier and so on. I have all the facts, and tomorrow I am dealing with that issue so that we put it to rest. So we do our best, we run our best. We must also understand that we have got different roles that we play under the auspices of information. My boss, the Minister of Information and Chief Government Spokesperson, deals mainly with policy. These cantankerous characters like PF, they have me to deal with. So when they talk, I talk. When they lie, I tell the truth. But I cannot have my boss be the one to attend to them. She deals mainly with the policy matters. So for example, we are talking about NAP forms. These were cabinet. Those will always be announced by my minister, the chief government spokesperson, who will tell the nation policy direction and policies that the government is working on. Day-to-day activities of bubbles and so on, really don't expect that my minister should sit and reply to Antonio Mwans, or the minister should sit and begin to answer short term. Well, they are my people. When they lie, I tell the truth. When they bring misinformation, I bring the information. So they have me to deal with.
Okay, you have answered my question. I was going to ask you, are you the Deputy Information Minister? But now you have clearly put that to bed, so that's fine. In conclusion, there are quite a few questions and sentiments coming in. Everyone is saying, Mr. Kawana or Director Kawana is on fire. He's always on fire, trust me. He's always off on one. And now I want us to talk about how we're going to bring this country together, because there's a lot of animosity, but also there's a lot of love. I have seen you had a birthday the other day, if I'm allowed to say this, if that's all right, Director Kawana. And this birthday party was attended by, can you just tell us a little bit? This is what makes me want to tell the public that you may be out there insulting everyone, insulting the UPND, insulting the PF, but these leaders, they hang out, they have a good time together. You had a party, and was it just UPND who attended your party? Your very lavish party.
No, I was fortunate enough that on the 15th of October, I turned 45. And my lovely wife threw a small luncheon for me. And I had a few friends come over. And I had friends coming from the Democratic Party, the Patriotic Front, the UPND, and many other different political divides and so on. And that is because we are, at the end of the day, one Zambia and one nation. And that very day also, one of our ministers, Honorable Mutati, was receiving Chirangamuriro on behalf of his brother-in-law at their residence. And even at that Chirangamuriro, the very time we were having our small luncheon at my place, there was ministers there at the ministers Chirangamuriro, with former ministers of PF, former ministers of MMD, and the current members of parliament of PF and so on. Even on my own birthday, I was getting phone calls and messages of goodwill, even something, from people from the PF and from MMD. So bottom line is that we coexist as Zambians.
Yeah.
Be careful, because something. Oh, Madam Chira will investigate you.
No, I said tukulia. Mukatubaka something said tukulia. Ngamwe iba designers. Leo tukulia kama ntumira wa. Nikasafika. So for us we congregate, we go to the same churches, our children go to the same schools, we go to the same social places, and we are one Zambia, one nation.
Indeed.
What makes people feel that we are divided is mainly because social media is awash with negative propaganda, with hate that is propelled mainly by the opposition patriotic front. And I keep saying, this is still part of their depression of having lost the election. So they want to show that President Hakainde Hichilema and his administration have failed to bring the country together, when in fact we haven't. We have invited everybody tomorrow for the prayers of reconciliation. And President Lungu has been invited. Members of parliament from the opposition have been invited. But let's see who turns up tomorrow. But whoever, whether they come or they do not come, we will still pray for them. We always pray for our brothers and sisters, including those in the opposition. Even those that stole money, Kawalala, we pray for them, so that even when they go to prison, we will still pray for their good stay and good health in prison, and watch the space. Even those that will be sent to prison, you will see us going to visit them in prison, to take to Bumu, to take to Sugar, and so on, to make their stay in prison habitable. Because we believe that we are one Zambia, one nation, and we must always coexist and love and look after one another.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Wakawana. One Zambia, one nation. And I deliberately threw that in because you see cadres fighting each other, people on social media, even people fighting me. Why are you bringing Tutwanguluve? Why are you speaking to so-and-so? This is one Zambia, one nation. Our leaders do actually demonstrates that one Zambia, one nation. These are just politics. And to literally firm that idea that Mr. Connor has talked about, there has been so many traditional ceremonies that I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed to say I did not know about. But through President Hakainde Hichilema attending quite a lot of these, I'm beginning to know the different cultures, different traditions, different music, and I'm loving it. And this is also another way of bringing the country together. So thank you so much. On that note, I would like to say thank you so much for having joined us. We were joined by Boma Uteko in the name of the director, Mr. Tabo Kawana, and yeah, we were joined by a brand new panelist, Mishek, and thank you so much for coming. You were amazing. Kelvin joined us at the end, and Bo Mukelevai, always trying to get me into legal conundrums, but I always try to kind of swerve away from that. Thank you so much, and God bless you, and God bless our country. Till next time, it's good night.